Hey guys, in this video, we're diving into some of the most disturbing facts about the universe. Things so strange and unsettling, they might actually change how you see reality itself. Let's get into it. Fermi Paradox. We look into the sky and see billions of stars, endless galaxies, infinite chances for something, someone, to be out there. And yet, nothing answers. No voices in the void. No flicker of alien cities on distant planets. No ancient signals drifting across the stars. Just a silence that stretches farther than we can imagine, and heavier than we want to believe. With so many Earth-like planets older than our sun, life should have had time to evolve, to thrive, to explore. They should have been here by now, watching us, visiting us, maybe even warning us. But the skies remain quiet. The Fermi Paradox asks a question that feels more like a whisper in a nightmare. Where is everyone? It's not just a riddle. It's a threat dressed as curiosity, because there are only a few answers, and none of them are comforting. Maybe intelligent life is rare, and we're the only ones who made it this far. Or maybe it's common. But intelligence always leads to self-destruction. Nuclear fire, biological collapse, technological suicide. Maybe civilizations rise like sparks and vanish before anyone else ever sees the light. Or maybe the silence is a choice. Maybe they're out there, watching, and they don't speak, because speaking is what gets you killed. Something older, something vast. Something that waits in the dark for voices to rise above the static. What if every message we send is a flare in the ocean, and the ocean has teeth? We build telescopes hoping for contact, but what if we're just inviting something we'll never understand? And maybe it's not out there at all. Maybe the filter is ahead of us, a wall that no species crosses, a moment every intelligent life form meets and doesn't survive. We dream of stars, but maybe we're racing toward the same silence we hear now. A silence that once had voices, a silence that once had answers, but now holds only absence. The Fermi Paradox doesn't disturb us because the universe is quiet. It disturbs us because it shouldn't be, and yet it is. Maybe that's not a mistake. Maybe that's the warning. Vacuum decay. Imagine waking up to the sound of nothing, no alarms, no birds, no breath, because the moment already passed and you never knew it happened. Vacuum decay isn't just a theory, it's a quiet apocalypse waiting beneath the fabric of reality. Our universe feels stable, solid, eternal, but physics suggests it might not be in its true resting state. Instead, everything we know could be built on a fragile layer, a false vacuum, floating in higher energy than it should. And that means something darker lurks below, a true vacuum, a lower, more stable reality. And if the universe ever touches it, even for a moment, the rules collapse. No explosion, no flash, just a bubble of pure destruction expanding at light speed, rewriting the laws of nature as it moves. Molecules disassemble, atoms lose meaning, space and time themselves unravel, and we wouldn't even feel it. Not even for a second. One moment you're here, the next you never were. What if it's already happened, somewhere far beyond our reach? What if it's racing toward us right now, faster than any warning could arrive? We look for signs, but there are none. You can't stop it, you can't see it. You can only wait, or not. And the terrifying part is, the deeper we dig into particle physics, the more likely this nightmare becomes. Experiments at CERN, theories about the Higgs field, they all point in the same direction. That this false vacuum might be real, that our reality is temporary, that existence itself is an illusion balanced on decay. We think of the end as heat death, or cosmic collapse, or entropy slowly winning. But this is silent, sudden, absolute, No gods to beg, no heroes to save, just a quiet flicker, and then nothing. Maybe that's how the last universe ended. Maybe it's how this one will too. Or maybe the universe is already gone, and we're just living in the echo. How do you prepare for an ending that doesn't wait? An erasure you never see coming? You don't. You just breathe in the illusion. And wait. Dark matter. It surrounds us. It holds our galaxies together. It bends light, shapes gravity, and guides the movement of stars. And yet, no one has ever seen it. No one has touched it. No one even knows what it is. Dark matter makes up most of the matter in the universe, and still, it remains invisible, undetectable, except for the way it distorts everything around it. It's the ghost in the machine, the silent architect of structure. Without it, galaxies would fly apart, stars would scatter like dust, and the universe as we know it wouldn't exist. But if it's everywhere, why can't we find it? We've built machines underground, sent particles smashing together, waited in silence for a single collision that never comes. And every time we fail to detect it, the mystery deepens. What if we've been wrong about everything? What if dark matter isn't matter at all, but something else entirely? A hidden force, or another dimension bleeding into ours. Some scientists believe it could be composed of exotic particles that never interact with normal atoms. Others think it might be the shadow of a multiverse, flickering just beyond our reach. But the truth is, we don't know. And the unknown isn't empty. It's full. Full of questions, full of tension, full of everything we can't see but know is there. We move through it like fish through water, blind to the thing that holds us up. It doesn't shine, it doesn't burn, but it pulls, it whispers, it commands, and we obey without knowing why. What if we're not made of what matters most? What if we're the exception, not the rule, the visible glitch in an invisible world? Dark matter doesn't just challenge our understanding of the cosmos, it mocks it. Reminds us how much we still don't know, how much is still hiding just beneath the surface of what feels real. So we stare into the dark, and the dark doesn't blink. Heat death, not with a bang, not with fire, not with war or silence or collapse, but with stillness. That's how the universe ends. Not suddenly, but slowly, over trillions of years, stretched beyond memory or meaning. Heat death is the final breath of everything. A point where all stars have burned out, all galaxies have drifted apart, and all energy has been spread too thin to do anything. No more light, no more motion, no more life. Just particles floating in infinite darkness, too cold to react, too distant to touch, too old to remember what they were. Entropy, the measure of disorder, increases with every second. It's not chaos, it's surrender, the slow flattening of all structure, all difference, all heat. And the universe doesn't resist, it just fades. Every burst of energy, every star that shined, every voice that ever spoke, becomes background noise stretched thin across frozen space. And this isn't a myth, it's physics. It's the most accepted fate for our cosmos. No reset, no rebirth, just exhaustion. A final, eternal exhale. What happens to thought in a universe that can no longer change? What happens to meaning when everything is the same? Forever. The scariest part isn't the ending. It's the waiting. The slow, cold trillions of years where stars die one by one, where galaxies vanish into darkness, where even black holes decay into nothing, until all that remains is emptiness. No clocks, no memory, no one left to witness it, just stillness stretching across a dead infinity. We dream of exploring the stars, but time doesn't wait, and the stars won't burn forever. We live in a brief window, a flicker between two voids, one behind us, one ahead, and when the last light goes out, it won't scream. It won't whisper. It will simply stop. Gamma ray burst. There are explosions. And then there are gamma ray bursts, the most violent, most powerful events the universe has ever known. When they erupt, they don't just shine. They tear space open. In less than a second, they release more energy than our sun will produce in its entire 10 billion year lifetime. Some come from collapsing stars, others from merging neutron stars, but all of them share one thing: destruction beyond comprehension. A narrow beam of pure radiation moving at the speed of light, invisible and unstoppable. If one ever pointed at Earth from close enough, it wouldn't burn us. It wouldn't even give us time to scream. It would erase our atmosphere, blind the sky, shatter our DNA. Extinction in the blink of an eye. No warning, no escape, just silence. We've seen their afterglow in distant galaxies, flickers of annihilation billions of light years away. And still, we don't fully understand them. Why do some stars collapse quietly, while others explode with universe-shaking force? What determines which direction the beam will fire? Is one already aimed at us, its burst traveling through the void, unseen until the moment it arrives? The odds are low, but not zero. And in a universe this large, even rare things happen eventually. A single gamma ray burst near Earth could reset evolution, end civilizations, rewrite the planet's story in a millisecond. It's happened before. Some scientists believe one may have struck Earth millions of years ago, wiping out life and leaving no evidence but absence. We study them from afar, but if one ever came too close, there would be no time to learn. Just impact. Maybe we're lucky. Maybe we're already living in the quiet between the bursts. Or maybe we're just next. The great silence. We've listened for decades, scanned the skies, waited for a whisper across the stars. And still, nothing. Not a pulse, not a blink, not even a mistake. Just silence. So deep, it begins to feel personal. The great silence is more than just the absence of sound. It's the unbearable tension of expectation. Because we know the universe is vast. We know the ingredients for life are common. We know intelligence should have risen more than once. So where is everyone? What's keeping the stars so quiet? Some say they're out there, watching us like animals in a glass cage. Some say we're too early. The first flicker in a dark cosmos still waiting to wake up. Others say we're too late. The echo of a party that ended long ago, with no one left to remember it. What if the universe isn't empty, just post-apocalyptic? A graveyard of civilizations that reached too far, spoke too loud, or existed for too short a time to ever meet? What if contact was never the goal? What if isolation is the final filter? The great test no one survives. And then there's the darkest possibility of all, that we were never meant to hear anything, that the silence isn't an error, it's the default. Maybe consciousness is the rarest thing in existence. Maybe we are the only eyes looking out, the only mind wondering why no one answers back. But if that's true, why does it feel like someone should be there? Why does the silence feel staged, intentional? We build satellites and send golden records into the abyss, hoping something hears us. But maybe we're screaming into a padded room, a universe designed not to echo. The great silence doesn't sound like emptiness. It sounds like something holding its breath. Eternal inflation. It didn't stop. That's the part we often forget. The Big Bang wasn't a single explosion. It was a chain reaction, a blooming, infinite sprawl. And according to eternal inflation, it never ended. It's still happening. Somewhere beyond the edge of what we can see, the universe is still expanding, still birthing new regions of space at speeds faster than light. And every one of those regions becomes its own universe, sealed off, self-contained, with its own laws of physics, its own constants, its own beginning. Ours is just one bubble in a cosmic foam that never stops growing. Every second, more reality is created, more space, more possibilities. And the deeper you go, the more unsettling it becomes. Because if inflation is eternal, then so is creation. And so are you, not just once, but infinite times. In an infinite multiverse, there are versions of you who made different choices. Versions who lived longer, versions who never existed at all. Somewhere out there, a planet just like Earth formed, with someone just like you reading these words. Again. What does it mean to be real if you are only one of endless reflections? What does identity become when every variation of you also believes they are the original? Eternal inflation doesn't just stretch space, it stretches the soul. You are no longer the center of anything, not even your own life. You're a ripple inside a ripple inside a ripple. And this bubble we call a universe, it's doomed to freeze, collapse, or fade, while others are just beginning. Some might already be dying, some might be watching, and we'll never meet them, never cross over. The walls between universes move faster than light, faster than thought, faster than regret. We're trapped in this bubble with our own rules, our own destiny, and the quiet knowledge that it's just one drop in a storm that will never stop. Time dilation. Time doesn't move the same for everyone. That's not philosophy, it's physics. The faster you move, the slower time flows. The closer you are to gravity, the more time bends. What feels like seconds to you could be years to someone else. It sounds impossible, but it's been measured, proven. Time dilation isn't science fiction. It's built into the fabric of space-time itself. Clocks on satellites tick faster than clocks on Earth. Astronauts age slower in orbit. And if you were to hover near a black hole, time would crawl, until a single minute for you meant centuries for everyone else. What would you do with that kind of time? Would you stay behind while the universe raced ahead? Would you fall into silence while civilizations bloomed and died in fast forward? The truth is, time doesn't care about us. It stretches and compresses with no emotion, no fairness. It makes travelers into relics. It makes distance into separation, not just of space, but of experience. Two twins could live the same life and end up years apart. One grounded, one drifting in a time that refused to wait. It breaks everything we thought we knew about before and after, cause and effect, age and memory. What if every moment you live is being lived slower or faster by someone else? What if time is less like a river and more like a web, tangled and warped and personal? We imagine time as steady, but it's a lie we tell ourselves to feel safe. In reality, time is soft, slippery, conditional, and in the cold vacuum of space, it doesn't march. It folds, it curves, it divides, until the future and the past are no longer directions but distances. And sometimes, even standing still, you're already being left behind. Dark energy. The universe isn't just expanding, it's accelerating. Galaxies aren't drifting apart, they're being pushed faster and faster, as if space itself is stretching with growing hunger. At the heart of this mystery is something we can't see, can't touch, and barely understand. Dark energy. It makes up nearly 70% of everything, and yet we don't know what it is. Not a particle, not a wave, not a force in the way we know forces. It's simply there, driving space apart, overriding gravity, pushing the cosmos toward a future where everything is so far away that nothing can ever meet again. How do you fight something that acts on the universe itself, that speeds up emptiness, that feeds on distance? We don't know where it came from, or why it exists now, or what will happen when it finally wins. But if it continues, There will be a time when galaxies disappear from view, when light from every corner fades into red, when even atoms may be torn apart by the stretching of space. Some call it the Big Rip, a future where not even time survives. Others believe dark energy is unstable, and one day it might shift, turning expansion into collapse. A silent reversal, a cosmic inhale. But either way, dark energy doesn't explain itself. It just dominates. What if the universe isn't expanding because it wants to? What if it's running from something, or being pulled? Maybe dark energy isn't energy at all, but the shadow of something deeper, something older than time. A pressure left behind by creation. A code we were never meant to read. We measure it. We map its effects. But we don't understand it. Not even close. And yet, it's everywhere. All around us. All through us. The invisible force deciding how everything ends. Cold spot. In the vast uniformity of the cosmos, one region stands out. Not because it shines, but because it doesn't. A strange patch of sky in the southern hemisphere of the universe's microwave background. Colder than it should be. Colder than anywhere else. The cold spot shouldn't exist, and yet it does. Discovered in the relic radiation left over from the Big Bang, it's not just a temperature dip. It's an anomaly. A scar. A whisper from the beginning. Some scientists think it might be caused by a massive void. A billion light-year-wide emptiness with fewer galaxies, fewer stars, fewer rules. Others say it's too strange for that it might be something deeper, something cosmic. What if it's not a void, but a wound? A place where two universes once collided. A bubble from a parallel reality that scraped against ours, leaving behind a cold bruise on the fabric of space. Or maybe it's the edge of something we're not supposed to find. A glitch, a message, a hole in the simulation. Why would one region of the universe remember the beginning differently than the rest? Why does this silence feel colder than all the others? We've mapped it, measured it, stared at it. But the more we study, the less it makes sense. It breaks symmetry. It disturbs patterns. It sits there, quiet, patient, and wrong. Not a monster, not a scream, but a whisper that doesn't match the rest of the song. Maybe the cold spot is just randomness, just chance. But in a universe built on balance, even randomness has rules. And when one spot refuses to play by them, it makes you wonder, what else is hiding beneath the surface of normal? What else is waiting to be found, staring back with no warmth, no reason, and no name? Spaghettification. It sounds like a joke, like something made up in a science cartoon. But spaghettification is real, and it's one of the most terrifying ways to die in the universe. It happens near black holes, those silent, invisible mouths in space. As you fall toward one, gravity doesn't just pull, it rips. The difference in force between your head and your feet becomes so extreme that you begin to stretch. First, slowly, then violently. Your body is pulled into a long, thin strand, atoms unraveling, molecules separating, everything elongating until you're a noodle of matter spiraling into darkness. Not crushed, not burned, just stretched into oblivion. And what's worse, for a moment, you might still be aware, still thinking, still falling. But from the outside, someone watching wouldn't see that. They'd see you freeze at the event horizon, suspended forever, never quite disappearing. What would it feel like to fall endlessly, while time outside races forward by millions of years? What would it feel like to become the ghost of your own death? Spaghettification isn't just a death, it's a transformation, a violent reshaping of what you are into what space allows. The laws of physics warp, light bends, and everything you knew about the universe fades into a spiral of distortion. And the closer you get to the singularity, the less the rules apply. Space stretches, time slows, identity melts. You are no longer falling through space. Space is falling through you. And when you finally reach the end, it's not a place. It's a limit. A boundary where logic ends and mystery begins. We don't know what happens past that point. We can't. And maybe we're not supposed to. Maybe death isn't the end near a black hole. Maybe it's just reassembly, a breaking down of self into something new, something unrecognizable, something eternal in the darkest sense of the word. Information paradox. Black holes eat everything: matter, light, time, and information. Or at least, that's what we thought. For decades, scientists believed that anything falling into a black hole was lost forever, erased from the universe. But that idea broke something deep. Because in physics, information, the exact state of particles, energy, identity, can't be destroyed. Not truly. Not even in death. And so began the information paradox, a cosmic contradiction where two rules of the universe go to war. Black holes destroy information, but the laws of quantum mechanics say that's impossible. So which one breaks? What happens when you throw a book into a black hole? Not just the paper, but the story, the arrangement, the meaning. Is it gone, or does it hide? Some say the information is scrambled on the event horizon, burned into the surface like a hologram. Others believe it leaks out slowly over time through Hawking radiation, encoded in the ashes. But we don't know how. We don't know where. We only know that something doesn't add up. What if black holes aren't graves, but vaults? What if the entire universe is a kind of projector? And black holes are where the film coils up? Or worse? What if the information is truly lost and our laws are wrong? What if reality doesn't preserve meaning after all? That memory, structure, and history can vanish without trace. If that's true, then nothing matters. Not physics, not thought, not even time. The information paradox isn't just a puzzle. It's a threat to our understanding of everything. It asks a question the universe has no right to ask. What if you can be erased so completely that even the idea of you disappears? Information paradox. Black holes eat everything: matter, light, time, and information. Or at least, that's what we thought. For decades, scientists believed that anything falling into a black hole was lost forever, erased from the universe. But that idea broke something deep. Because in physics, information, the exact state of particles, energy, identity, can't be destroyed. Not truly. Not even in death. And so began the information paradox, a cosmic contradiction where two rules of the universe go to war. Black holes destroy information, but the laws of quantum mechanics say that's impossible. So which one breaks? What happens when you throw a book into a black hole? Not just the paper, but the story, the arrangement, the meaning. Is it gone, or does it hide? Some say the information is scrambled on the event horizon, burned into the surface like a hologram. Others believe it leaks out slowly over time through Hawking radiation, encoded in the ashes. But we don't know how. We don't know where. We only know that something doesn't add up. What if black holes aren't graves, but vaults? What if the entire universe is a kind of projector? And black holes are where the film coils up? Or worse? What if the information is truly lost and our laws are wrong? What if reality doesn't preserve meaning after all? That memory, structure, and history can vanish without trace. If that's true, then nothing matters. Not physics, not thought, not even time. The information paradox isn't just a puzzle. It's a threat to our understanding of everything. It asks a question the universe has no right to ask. What if you can be erased so completely that even the idea of you disappears? False vacuum. Reality might be lying to you, not in symbols or illusions, but at the level of existence itself. Our universe feels stable. Planets orbit, stars burn, particles behave the way they should. But what if all of it is temporary? What if we're living in a false vacuum, a fragile, unnatural state balanced delicately above a deeper, truer version of reality? Physicists believe our universe might not be in the lowest possible energy state. Instead, it may be suspended in a kind of fake equilibrium, like a ball resting in a dent on a hill, thinking it's reached the bottom, but it hasn't. There's another valley below, more stable, more real, and if we ever slip into it, everything we know will collapse. Instantly. A bubble of true vacuum could form anywhere, at any time, and spread outward at the speed of light, reshaping atoms, rewriting physics, erasing time. It wouldn't kill you. You wouldn't even feel it. You'd simply stop existing in a way no death has ever delivered. What if that bubble has already formed, far from here, racing silently toward us through the dark? You wouldn't see it coming. There's no warning, no sound, no flash. Just a sudden, final nothing. We search for clues in particle physics, in the Higgs field, in collisions deep beneath the Earth. And the more we learn, the more it seems possible that the universe is pretending, that we are shadows in a reality waiting to wake up. False vacuum decay isn't an apocalypse we earn. It's one that was always waiting, like a trap built into the code of the cosmos. And the scariest part isn't the ending. It's that everything until now might have been the dream. The question is, how do you live a real life in a world that might not be real at all? Cosmic isolation. At first, space feels full. Stars in every direction. Galaxies stretching beyond vision. A universe too vast to ever be alone in. But the deeper we look, the more we realize the truth. The distance isn't just far. It's growing, accelerating. Everything is moving away from everything else, not through space, but because space itself is expanding, and that expansion has consequences. One day, distant galaxies will drift beyond the reach of light. Their signals will never reach us. Their histories will vanish from our sky, and eventually, even nearby galaxies will slip away, one by one, swallowed by distance and silence. What if it's already begun? What if we are the last era of connection, the final witnesses to a universe that used to be loud? 1 trillion years from now, the cosmos will look empty. Future observers won't know other galaxies ever existed. No evidence, no patterns, just black. Cosmic isolation isn't just physical, it's existential. It means the more time passes, the less we'll know, the less we'll remember. A slow erasure of context, meaning, and perspective. And we can't stop it. The speed of light is no longer enough. Even if we built ships that traveled for eternity, they would never reach what we can still see today. We are boxed in by time, by physics, by inevitability. How do you find purpose when the horizon itself is dying? How do you matter when the universe forgets faster than you can build? Maybe this is the great filter. Not war, not extinction, but silence. A creeping loneliness that makes interstellar life impossible. Not because it dies, but because it's cut off. Forever. We like to imagine contact, discovery, connection. But the universe has its own ending in mind, and it doesn't include us. Just stars fading out, one by one, as the darkness pulls everything apart. Great Attractor. Something is pulling us. Not gently, but with cosmic force. Every galaxy in our region of the universe, including the Milky Way, is drifting toward a single point in space at over 600 kilometers per second. And we don't fully know why. It's called the Great Attractor, and it lies in a region of the sky we can barely observe, hidden behind the thick dust and stars of our own galaxy, a place ominously named the Zone of Avoidance. But we feel its pull. A gravitational tug so massive that entire galaxy clusters are being dragged toward it like leaves into a drain. What's terrifying isn't just that we're moving, it's that we don't understand what's calling us. Some believe it's just an immense concentration of matter, superclusters stacked together, shaping a gravitational well. Others wonder if it's something even larger, something on a scale we haven't imagined yet. What if there's a structure so big, so dense, that it warps the motion of everything nearby, and we can't even see it? What if our part of the universe isn't expanding freely, but being pulled into something ancient and hidden? The closer we look, the stranger it gets. The Great Attractor might not even be the final destination. Beyond it lies the Shapley supercluster, an even more massive region that could be driving everything toward a deeper unknown. We are passengers on a ship we didn't build, being steered by a force we can't name, heading toward a place we can't see. And we don't know what's waiting. Is it just more galaxies? Or a wall? A rupture? A truth too big for local space to hold? The universe feels still from where we stand, but we are in motion, fast, silent, unchosen. And the path ahead isn't mapped, it's only felt. A steady, invisible current, dragging all of us toward a question without form. What happens when you finally reach what you were never meant to find? Many worlds theory. Every choice you've ever made, and every choice you didn't, still exists, somewhere. That's the haunting core of the many worlds theory. It claims that with every quantum decision, every microscopic uncertainty, reality splits. Not figuratively, literally. A new branch of the universe forms, where a different outcome plays out. One where you said yes, one where you said nothing, one where you never existed at all. And these branches don't fade. They grow, infinitely. Every second, more versions of reality are born, each one just as real as this. What does it mean to live in a world that isn't the only one? What does it mean to be you when infinite copies of you are scattered across the multiverse, each diverging in subtle, terrifying ways? One where you died last year, one where you're rich, one where you're someone else entirely, and you'll never meet them. You can't. The universe doesn't allow it. These worlds don't overlap. They diverge, silently, forever. We think of our lives as a path, but they might be just one thread in a cosmic tapestry too vast to see, too tangled to trace. The many worlds theory doesn't offer comfort. It replaces certainty with a maze, a branching forest of realities where everything that can happen does, somewhere. You're not the only version of yourself. You're not even the most important. You're just this one. Right now, reading these words in a universe where this moment exists. But behind you, beside you, is everything else. All the things you could have been, and all the things you still might become. Not in this world, but in the next. Cosmic horizon. There's a limit to how far we can see, not because we lack the tools, but because space itself refuses to let us look any farther. That limit is called the cosmic horizon, and it's not a wall, but a boundary carved by time and light. It marks the edge of the observable universe, the farthest point from which light has had time to reach us since the Big Bang. Anything beyond it is invisible, not because it doesn't exist, but because its light hasn't arrived yet, and might never. The universe is expanding so fast that some regions are moving away from us faster than light itself. Their signals are stretched, lost, erased by distance. And as time goes on, more and more of the universe slips beyond that edge, forever out of reach. What if the majority of the cosmos is already gone, not destroyed, just unreachable? What if we're already living in a shrinking island of visibility, surrounded by a sea of darkness that only grows deeper? In the distant future, observers will see nothing beyond their own galaxy. They'll think the universe is small, isolated, alone, because the rest will have vanished beyond the horizon. Truth erased by motion. History lost in speed. The cosmic horizon isn't a physical place. It's a cruel reminder that no matter how far we reach, the universe always pulls away faster. It guards its secrets not with force, but with time. What lies beyond it? More galaxies, more laws, something that explains everything, or something that changes it? We'll never know. Not fully, not from here, because the horizon isn't just distance, it's destiny. It's the line that marks how much the universe is willing to share. And everything beyond it may as well be a dream we were never meant to wake from. Time is illusion. You feel it pass. Seconds ticking, moments fading, memories stacking neatly behind you. But what if none of it is real? What if time isn't something that flows, but something your mind creates to make sense of motion? Physicists have long suspected that time isn't fundamental, that the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, like pages in a book you haven't finished reading. To you, this moment feels special, like now is the only real thing. But every version of now, from the birth of stars to your last breath, may already exist. Frozen, unmoving, waiting. Einstein called time a stubborn illusion, one our brains construct from change, not from truth. And in the equations that govern reality, time isn't needed. The universe doesn't require a before or after. It just is. So what does that mean for your life? Your memories? Your future? If time is an illusion, then your birth and your death are happening together, just in different slices of the same whole. You're not traveling through time. You are time, stretched across dimensions you can't perceive. Every decision you've made, every heartbeat, every moment of pain or joy, it's all still there, untouched, eternal. You're not losing anything. You're just moving through the illusion of loss. What if nothing ever ends? It only hides. What if you've already lived this moment an infinite number of times, and will live it again forever, because it never truly passed? The fear of time running out may just be a shadow on the wall of your own perception, because in the deepest fabric of reality, time doesn't run. It doesn't tick. It doesn't care. It simply doesn't exist. Rogue planets. They drift alone, silent, starless, unseen. Planets without a sun, cast out from their systems or born in isolation, wandering through the darkness between stars. These are rogue planets, cold, invisible, forgotten, and there could be trillions of them. More than there are stars, more than we can ever count. They don't orbit, they don't shine, they don't belong. They move endlessly through the void, unlit and unloved, carrying with them the eerie possibility that not all life needs light. Could something survive on a planet with no sun? Could warmth rise from within, from radioactive cores, trapped heat, or deep oceans sealed beneath ice? Could life evolve in eternal night, blind to starlight, dreaming in geothermal shadows? We assume light is life, but maybe that's just Earth's bias. Maybe in the darkness between galaxies, something ancient is stirring, watching, waiting. What would it mean to find one? Not empty, but inhabited. Not dead, but dreaming. Rogue planets challenge everything we think we know about habitability. They could be everywhere, sliding past us in silence, untethered, unreachable, unknowable. One could be passing through our system right now, veiled in black, unnoticed by our telescopes. And if it came close enough, gravity would listen. Orbits would shift, tides would tremble, and Earth would remember that space is not stable. It's haunted. These worlds are reminders that not all planets live in the warmth of stars. Some choose exile, some are exiled, and some may never have needed the light at all. In the spaces between, they drift, cold, patient, and possibly not alone. Sun will eat Earth. It's easy to forget what the sun really is, not a gentle light, but a nuclear engine, a constant roaring fusion reaction held in delicate balance. But that balance won't last forever. One day, the sun will change. It will grow, swell. Its outer layers will expand outward, turning it into a red giant so massive that it will swallow Mercury. Then Venus, and then Earth. The planet you're on right now will be pulled into the furnace that once gave it life. The oceans will boil. The atmosphere will strip away. The ground will melt into nothing, not in an instant, but slowly, beautifully, horrifically. And the Earth won't just be burned, it will be consumed, absorbed into the dying body of the star it orbited for billions of years. What if it's already begun? What if the countdown isn't measured in centuries, but in breaths? Scientists predict this will happen in around 5 billion years. Too far to fear, too close to ignore. Because even before the end, the sun will shift. It will brighten, heat up, cook the planet from the inside out until life becomes impossible long before the final fall. We won't get to see the flames, but we'll feel the symptoms. Oceans rising, weather breaking, skies thickening with the slow warning of a future already written. People once worshipped the sun. Now we know it's our executioner. And the scariest part? There's no way to stop it. No way to leave. Not yet. Not fast enough. Earth is trapped in its orbit, waiting, listening, slowly spiraling toward its predator. The same star that warmed our skin, fed our crops, lit our skies, will one day reach out and take us whole. Not because it wants to, but because it always would. Because it always had to. Entropy rules all. You can't see it. You can't hear it. But it's everywhere. Quietly working, patiently waiting. Entropy is the invisible law that governs everything, from the collapse of stars to the fading of memory. It is not chaos. It is inevitability. The gradual slide from order to disorder, from structure to scattering, from meaning to noise. Every system tends toward entropy. Every structure breaks. Every flame flickers out. Even the most perfect design will crumble under its touch. Not all at once, but slowly, silently, with no way to stop it. You clean a room, and it gets messy again. You build a life, and time pulls it apart. You light a fire, and it dies. The universe doesn't drift into disorder by mistake. It's built to decay. Entropy increases with every second, and it never reverses. That's the second law of thermodynamics, and it's one of the most unbreakable truths we know. But why? Why does the universe prefer disorder over structure? Why is the default state of everything destruction? You were born in a low entropy moment, full of potential, full of energy. And ever since, your body, your mind, and your world have been slowly dissolving into randomness. And it's not just physical, it's emotional, mental, personal. Relationships fade, thoughts scatter, memories blur. Not because you failed, but because entropy never sleeps. Even the atoms in your body will one day drift apart, cooled and quiet, indistinguishable from the dust between stars. The universe will end not in fire, but in entropy. A slow, cold sigh that flattens everything to sameness. No light, no thought, no difference. A perfect, dead balance. But maybe what makes life meaningful is that it resists. That in the face of this unstoppable tide, we try, we create, we remember, we hold on. What if meaning isn't what survives entropy, but what defies it, even briefly? The laws are fixed, the end is written, but you're still here, organizing, building, hoping, for no reason but that something inside you refuses to go quietly. Entropy rules all, but it doesn't get to define you. until the very end. Universe has no center. We search for directions. We look for edges, for a middle, for a place to stand and say, this is where it all began. But the universe doesn't care about our need for a center, because it has none. No up, no down, no middle point from which everything stretches outward. It's not expanding like a balloon from one central spark. It's expanding everywhere, all at once, from every direction, in every direction. There's no special location, no cosmic heart. If you were on another galaxy, it would still look like everything is moving away from you, just like it does here. Because it is. And that's not an illusion. It's how space works, how space-time stretches, not from somewhere, but from within itself. What happens to meaning in a reality with no origin? What does here even mean when everywhere is just as central as anywhere else? We want the universe to have structure, a blueprint, a top, a bottom, a beginning. But in the deepest geometry of existence, there's only expansion. And the more it grows, the harder it becomes to define any position at all. We are not at the center. No one is. Not even the Big Bang had a location in space. It was space, unfolding into itself. There was no outside for it to burst into, nowhere to come from, just energy thickening into reality. And now, billions of years later, we drift in that aftermath, still trying to draw lines on something that has none. There is no fixed point, no privileged spot. The universe is centerless, not empty, but equal. Everywhere you go, you're always in the middle. Because the middle is all there is. That's not comforting. It's unsettling. Because if there's no center, then maybe there's no edge, no boundary, no destination. Just infinite space pulling itself apart, with no map and no anchor. A place where the only direction is away. Cosmic cannibalism. Space is not peaceful. It's not silent in the way we imagine silence. Still, empty, calm. It's violent, hungry, alive with the slow, grinding war of galaxies devouring each other. Cosmic cannibalism isn't poetic. It's literal. Galaxies crash into galaxies, pulling stars apart, stripping spiral arms, tearing cores open. The Milky Way itself is guilty. We've already eaten smaller galaxies, their remnants now tangled in our halo like bones in a giant's mouth. And we're next. In a few billion years, the Milky Way will collide with Andromeda. Not a sudden smash, but a slow, billion-year dance of destruction. Stars won't crash. They'll drift, distort, be flung into cold space, or pulled into new shapes. Black holes will spiral together, merging into monsters. And in the end, a new galaxy will form. But it won't be us. Not really. It'll be something born from the wreckage of what we were. What if that's all galaxies ever are? The corpses of smaller galaxies, stitched together by gravity and time. What if the universe builds beauty not from creation, but consumption? A place where everything big got that way by eating the small. And even the small weren't innocent. They once fed on things tinier still. It's a chain with no start, no morals, no mercy. Just hunger. Cosmic cannibalism happens quietly, over eons, so slow we almost miss it. But it's happening right now, above us, around us, within us. Some of the stars in the night sky don't belong to the Milky Way. They're refugees, survivors, leftovers from galaxies we already consumed. We look at the stars and see light. The universe sees meat. And the only rule it seems to follow is this: grow or be swallowed. Hypervelocity Star. Most stars drift, slow, steady, faithful to their galaxies. But not all. Some are flung, violently, into the darkness, moving so fast they escape gravity itself. These are hypervelocity stars, cosmic exiles, burned bullets of light. They travel millions of kilometers per hour, faster than anything should. and they don't slow down. Once launched, nothing can pull them back. They leave their home galaxies behind forever, alone, untethered, racing through intergalactic space toward nowhere. How does something like that even happen? Sometimes it's a slingshot. A binary star system wanders too close to a supermassive black hole. One star gets eaten. The other is thrown. Hard. Forever. Other times, it's a galactic collision, a gravitational shove from a merging universe. But always, the story is violent. Always, it begins with something lost. What does it feel like to be a star hurled away from everything it knew? To light the path forward but leave the past behind, permanently. There are stars out there right now fleeing our galaxy, and we may never know where they came from, or where they're going. One day, billions of years from now, a hypervelocity star could pass silently through a dead region of space, still burning, still alone, with no one left to watch, no one to remember. What if our own sun had once been bound to another galaxy, and we're already living in a borrowed system, carried here by an ancient exile? What if the story of Earth began not in orbit, but in flight? Hypervelocity stars remind us that nothing is safe, not even the sky, that even stars can be ejected, abandoned, set adrift across infinite silence. Not because they failed, but because the universe doesn't need a reason to break what it builds. It just does. And the ones that survive, they don't turn back, they only burn forward. Everything decays. There is no forever, not in matter, not in memory, not in anything. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything that ever lived or was built or burned will fall apart. Given enough time, even the most stable things collapse. Rocks crumble, iron rusts, stars fade, atoms split, and even the particles we once believed eternal are not. Protons, the building blocks of all matter, may decay too, slowly, quietly, over spans so vast they drown thought. A single proton might last 1 billion trillion years, and still not last forever. But when it does go, that will be the end of everything it held together. Matter will dissolve into subatomic nothing, and that nothing will keep fading, into radiation, into silence, into cold. The universe is not dying in one great scream. It's dying in whispers. Entropy ensures it. Decay enforces it. The structure of reality bends not toward stability, but toward disappearance. What if permanence is the real illusion? What if time itself isn't counting forward, but counting down? From stars to cells to thoughts, everything decomposes. Even black holes, the hungriest objects in existence, will one day evaporate. The final flicker of something that once devoured suns. And long after that, only particles will remain. Then even they won't. What does it mean to exist in a world where nothing survives? What kind of meaning can we build when the laws of nature promise decay? Maybe it's not about surviving. Maybe it's about choosing what to decay into. You're made of stardust, but you're also made of countdowns. And you're not exempt, not from time, not from wear, not from loss. Everything decays. But in the space between formation and collapse, something beautiful flickers. However briefly, however small, that flicker is you. Universe might be infinite. We imagine infinity, an endless stretch of stars, galaxies, and space without end. But the universe might not go on forever. It might loop, curve, fold back onto itself like a sphere so vast we mistake it for flat, finite, but without an edge. A space with boundaries you can never reach. Not because they're far, but because they don't exist the way we think they should. It's possible that if you traveled far enough in one direction, you'd return to where you started. Not by turning, but by bending through space itself. That kind of shape doesn't feel natural. It breaks our sense of direction. It makes far away meaningless. But even a finite universe can still feel infinite. until you ask the one question no answer seems to touch. What lies beyond it? If the universe has limits, then what is outside those limits? More space, nothingness, something that isn't space at all. Our minds aren't built to grasp true boundaries, especially when those boundaries can't be crossed. If the universe is everything, then outside shouldn't exist. And yet, we feel it must. Maybe that feeling is wrong. Maybe the question is flawed. Or maybe the answer is something so foreign, so disconnected from time and matter and shape, that we'd never recognize it, even if we saw it. Some theories say the universe is just one bubble in a sea of others, each with its own rules, its own dimensions. Maybe beyond the edge is another edge, another law, another kind of real. And we're just a flicker inside a flicker, convinced we're the whole flame. A finite universe doesn't mean small, it means wrapped, contained. And in that wrapping could be the key to everything. The origin, the pattern, or the reason why we'll never escape the question of what comes after everything. Because if there is a wall, we'll always want to look past it, even if there's nothing there, waiting to look back. Hawking radiation. Black holes don't last forever. That was the shock, that these cosmic monsters, so heavy, so final, are not eternal prisons, but slowly evaporating ghosts. Hawking radiation is how they die, not by explosion, not by collapse, but by a slow, cold leak of energy. At the edge of a black hole lies the event horizon, the point of no return. But in the strange math of quantum mechanics, even that boundary leaks. Particles blink into existence near the horizon. One falls in, the other escapes. And when that escape happens, the black hole loses a tiny bit of mass. Not stolen, but surrendered. Over time, eons beyond eons, the black hole shrinks, fades, dissolves into nothing but radiation and silence. The thing that swallowed stars becomes a whisper, a memory, gone. What kind of universe lets even its most powerful entities die alone in the dark? What kind of reality builds something infinite, just to unravel it particle by particle? Hawking radiation is slow, impossibly slow. For a black hole the size of a star, the process could take longer than the age of the universe itself. But it's there, constant, inevitable. Death by evaporation, not in fire but in cold surrender. And the final moments, the black hole doesn't vanish gently. As it nears the end, it shrinks faster, grows hotter, brighter, until it bursts. A final flash, then gone. If even black holes can die, what does that say about permanence, about power, about survival? Maybe nothing escapes gravity forever. Maybe no grip lasts, and even the darkest things, the things that once consumed worlds, will one day vanish into light and silence. Hawking radiation doesn't just explain how black holes end. It reminds us that in this universe, everything, no matter how massive, how invincible, how endless, eventually lets go. Event horizons. There is a place in space where reality ends, not with fire or a wall, but with silence. The event horizon. It marks the edge of a black hole, the boundary where escape becomes impossible. Once you cross it, you are cut off, from the outside, from time, from return. Light can't leave, information can't leave, not even the idea of you makes it out. But here's the strange part. From your point of view, nothing feels different. You fall through as if it were any other region of space. No flash, no burn, no resistance. But to the rest of the universe, you freeze. Suspended at the edge, stretched and dimmed by gravity, slowly vanishing into red. Never quite falling, never quite escaping. The event horizon isn't a surface. It's a point of no return carved into space-time. And it doesn't just trap matter, it traps meaning. What happens to you on the other side? Where do you go when space itself folds inward? When time warps so severely that forward becomes down, and down becomes nothing? Some believe the information is lost. Others believe it's stored on the horizon itself, encoded like a cosmic hologram. A perfect imprint of what once was, burned into the boundary. But we don't know. We can't. Because the event horizon doesn't just hide what's inside. It hides the truth. What if the answers to the universe are locked behind a surface we can never see past? What if black holes are not graves but doors, and the horizon is the curtain pulled shut? You can look, you can orbit, but you can never reach through. The event horizon is the ultimate divide, not of space, but of knowing. A silent, invisible threshold between what we understand and what we never will. Oumuamua. It came without warning. A long, dark object drifting through our solar system faster than any comet or asteroid we'd ever seen. It didn't orbit. It didn't slow down. It simply passed through, silent, indifferent, like it was never meant to be found. We named it Oumuamua, Hawaiian for scout, because it was the first known interstellar visitor. Not from our system, not from our star, but from somewhere else. And everything about it was wrong. Its shape was bizarre, long, flat, possibly a shard or a needle. It tumbled strangely, reflecting sunlight in flashes instead of glows. It accelerated without reason, without fuel. No comet tail, no impact, just a nudge, as if pushed. Was it a rock, a fragment, or something built? Some scientists speculated it was natural. Others, quietly, wondered if it wasn't. What if Oumuamua was sent, not by chance, but by design? A probe, a messenger, a piece of something ancient, drifting through galaxies on a mission we'll never understand. What if we missed the message? What if the message was that it didn't stop? We scanned it, we listened, but it was already leaving, already returning to silence. It slipped past Earth, past the sun, and then back into the dark. Its origins unknown, its purpose still debated, and we may never see it again. One object, one path, one fleeting moment in the vast timeline of the cosmos. But it changed something. It reminded us that the universe is not still, that things move, that visitors can come and go. And the scariest part, Oumuamua may not be the first. It's just the first we noticed. How many more have passed by, unnoticed, uninvited, undetected? How many more are coming? Alien civilizations may self-destruct. We ask why no one has contacted us, why no signals fill the void, why no structures hang between stars. But maybe the silence isn't because no one's out there. Maybe it's because they're all gone. One theory behind the Great Silence is simple and terrifying. Intelligent life destroys itself, not always out of malice, sometimes out of accident. Progress builds weapons. Growth demands resources. Curiosity unlocks power it doesn't understand. And civilizations, rising like sparks, burn too bright and too fast to last. What if every species that reaches a certain level of intelligence also discovers how to end itself? Nuclear fire, climate collapse, bioengineering mistakes, AI planetary exhaustion. The moment you can reshape your world is also the moment you can ruin it. It's not a war every time. Sometimes it's decay, a quiet unraveling, a culture too distracted to stop the slide, or too proud, or too slow. What if the final stage of intelligence isn't exploration, but self-termination? How many alien worlds have risen to brilliance, built cities, mapped their stars, and then simply vanished? How many ruins orbit empty suns, silent forever? What if the silence we hear is not a pause, but an aftermath? We dream of contact, of joining a galactic conversation. But maybe the conversation was already happening, and now we're just arriving too late. Or maybe every civilization listens first, waits, hopes, just like we are. And when none hear anything, they each slowly fall, one by one, alone. What if we're not the only ones who feared the silence? What if we're just the last ones left to listen? Maybe intelligence isn't rare. Maybe survival is. And maybe the reason no one answers is because they all ask the same question, right before the end. Simulated reality. You wake up, you breathe, you think. But what if none of it is real? What if everything, from the ground beneath you to the stars above, is just data, calculated moment by moment as you observe it? Simulated reality is the idea that our universe isn't physical at all, but artificial. A program, a simulation, running on some incomprehensible machine in some other plane of existence. And you might be part of it. Not flesh and bone, but code and logic. A self-aware algorithm trapped in an illusion so detailed it became indistinguishable from truth. At first, it sounds ridiculous, but think deeper. Our own technology creates increasingly lifelike simulations, virtual worlds, digital people, entire landscapes rendered in real time. If our primitive tools can already fake pieces of reality, what could a civilization a billion years ahead of us build? What if they already have? What if you're living inside one of their creations right now, never meant to know the difference? You taste food, feel wind, dream in color. But those could all be subroutines, stimuli, illusions rendered perfectly to keep you believing. Why do the laws of physics look like equations? Why is the speed of light a fixed limit? Why does reality seem to be made of information more than substance? It might not be coincidence. It might be programming. What if déjà vu is just a glitch? What if sleep is when they update the code? What if death is just your process ending, archived, paused, reset? You look around and trust what you see. But in a simulation, trust is just another layer. You could be a player, a non-player, a test, a question. And if that's true, who's watching you now? Observable universe shrinking. The universe is expanding. That much we know. But there's something darker hiding behind that truth. As space stretches, light takes longer to reach us. Distant galaxies are pulled away faster and faster, until eventually they cross a line and vanish. Not because they've ceased to exist, but because their light will never reach us again. The observable universe isn't growing, it's shrinking. Slowly, quietly, permanently. Every year, more galaxies slip beyond our cosmic horizon, lost not to destruction, but to distance. Entire clusters full of stars, planets, and history are disappearing from view, one by one, like lights winking out in deep fog. What if we're already living in a faded version of the cosmos, not because it's gone, but because we've been left behind? We like to imagine progress as expansion, but in reality, the universe we can access is collapsing inward. Future astronomers, billions of years from now, will look up and see nothing. Just the Milky Way, adrift in a black ocean, unaware that anything ever existed beyond it. The grand story of the cosmos will be gone, not in fire, but in forgetfulness. And we're watching it fade right now. What if this is our only window to understand the universe? Not because we're too early, but because we're just early enough. What happens to meaning in a shrinking world? What truths disappear when distance wins? The stars we see tonight may already be beyond reach, their light the last message we'll ever get. And yet we call this progress, expansion, growth. But maybe it's not expansion at all. Maybe it's erasure, one quiet galaxy at a time. The observable universe is shrinking, not because we're small, but because the darkness is faster. Causality might break down. You drop a glass. It shatters. Simple. The cause is your hand. The effect is the crash. That's how reality works. Cause, then effect. Always in that order. But what if that's not a rule? What if it's just a habit? Deep in the fabric of the universe, causality, the thing that makes time make sense, might not be absolute. In quantum mechanics, particles seem to react to measurements before they happen. Effects unfold without clear causes. Information appears in places it shouldn't, skipping over the timeline entirely. And in the warped depths of space-time, near black holes, in closed time loops, in the furious chaos of the Big Bang, cause and effect may dissolve completely. What happens when the arrow of time bends? When the future influences the past? When a result appears without any explanation at all? You could meet someone before they were born, receive a message you never sent, make a choice that determines the question, not the answer. What if every moment isn't linked by logic, but by probability? What if some events just happen? Not because of what came before, but because the rules momentarily blinked. We think we understand time because we experience it in order. But experience isn't law, it's interpretation. And if causality breaks down at the edges of reality, then our most basic assumption, that things happen for a reason, might be wrong. Entire histories could collapse, paradoxes could loop endlessly, and the universe might not mind. It might never have followed the rules, it just let us believe it did. So we cling to time, to order, to logic. But if causality fails, what are we left with? A world where nothing explains anything, where the answer comes first, where the past is just another version of the future, and the future has already happened. Alien planets are hellscapes. We dream of distant worlds, peaceful skies, blue oceans, new Earths waiting to be found. But the truth is far more brutal. Most alien planets are not havens. They're nightmares. Landscapes sculpted by forces so violent, so alien, they barely feel real. On HD 189733b, the rain isn't water, it's molten glass. Razor-sharp shards slicing sideways through 7,000 kilometers per hour winds. On Venus, clouds are made of sulfuric acid, and the pressure is so intense it crushes metal in minutes. Its skies glow with heat, and the surface is hot enough to melt lead. On WASP 76b, iron doesn't just exist, it vaporizes. And then it condenses again, into iron rain. That's right. The planet's day side is so hot, it turns metal into gas. And at night, that gas cools and falls like liquid death. On Tries 2b, the darkness is so deep, it reflects almost no light at all. It's blacker than coal, blacker than space. A dead void, barely glowing red from within, like a demon holding its breath. These aren't exceptions. They're the rule. Alien planets are chaos. They spin too fast. They orbit too close. They burn. They freeze. They collapse. They scream. Gravity twists them into eggs. Atmospheres boil into storms the size of continents. Tides crack their crusts open like shattered bones. What if we're the strange ones? What if Earth is the anomaly? A rare flicker of balance in a universe built on extremes. We send telescopes to find Earth-like planets, but the closer we look, the more we realize how lucky we are. Because out there, the default isn't beauty, it's horror. Most alien planets are not waiting to be colonized. They're warning signs, monuments to how violent creation can be. We are surrounded by hellscapes. And Earth is the quiet space between screams. Time will end. We think of time as endless, a river that always flows, carrying everything with it. Seconds become minutes, years become centuries, and we float forward without question. But time is not infinite. It had a beginning, and it may have an end. Not just the end of clocks, not just the end of history, but the end of time itself. In the distant future, the universe will stretch so far, cool so completely, and lose so much energy that all processes will stop. Motion will cease, change will freeze, and without change, there is no time. Because time isn't a thing. It's a measurement of difference, of movement, of cause and effect. And when nothing moves, time becomes meaningless. The ticking stops. The concept dies. What if that death is already in progress? What if every second we live is borrowed from a universe slowly winding down? One day, entropy will win. Black holes will evaporate. Particles will decay. And when the last atom falls into silence, what's left won't even be stillness, because stillness requires time to define it. There will be no past, no future, just a void where the idea of when can no longer survive. What happens to memory in a place without time? What happens to thought, consciousness, meaning? The end of time doesn't mean destruction, it means erasure. A slow, cold fade until even the concept of before and after vanishes. Scientists call it the heat death of the universe. But really, it's the death of now, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. No escape, no rewind, no way out. We are creatures of time, built from it, bound to it. But one day, it will leave us behind. And the last thought, in the last mind, in the last moment, may simply be, this is the end of time itself. Death of all matter. We think of matter as permanent, solid, enduring. Stars may burn out, galaxies may drift apart, but the building blocks, the particles themselves, will remain. But maybe they won't. Maybe even protons, the tiny foundations of everything you've ever touched, ever seen, ever been, will eventually fall apart. Scientists believe that protons, once thought to be eternal, may have a half-life. Not millions of years, not billions, but over 1,000 trillion years. So long it seems like forever, until it isn't. Until the decay begins. One by one, the very atoms in the universe will unravel. No explosions, no collapse, just slow disintegration, a fading, a giving up. What happens when the last bit of matter loses its grip on existence? When everything, stars, planets, bones, thoughts, is reduced to radiation drifting endlessly through black space? There will be no form, no memory, no resistance. Only particles losing their last breath in a universe that no longer has room for anything solid. What if permanence was never real? What if we were always living inside a brief pause before the final erosion? A flicker of structure between two eternities of dust? Even black holes, the last titans of gravity, will evaporate. And after them, only silence. And then, even the silence will loosen. Because silence assumes something left to fall quiet. But when all matter is gone, there will be no quiet, no sound, no waiting, no time. The end won't be a moment. It will be a long, slow fading of everything that ever was. What if the universe doesn't end in fire or ice, but in forgetting? Not just of life, not just of light, but of matter itself. A final sigh so quiet that not even the atoms survive to echo it. Axions and ghost particles. The universe is full of things we can't see, not because they're far, but because they barely touch anything at all. Axions, neutrinos, ghost particles. They pass through your body by the trillions every second, silently, invisibly, without a trace. They are the shadows behind matter, undetectable, untouchable, but everywhere. Neutrinos are real. We've caught glimpses. They hardly interact, sliding through planets like they're made of air. They were born in the heart of stars, in supernovae, in the Big Bang itself. But axions, they're still theoretical, hypothetical particles so light, so subtle, they could slip through the entire cosmos unnoticed. And yet, they might be the most abundant thing in the universe. What if everything we see, all the stars, gas, planets, and people, is just the surface layer? What if the true structure of the cosmos is hidden behind a veil of ghost matter. Some believe Axions are dark matter, that the strange gravitational pull we can't explain, the scaffolding that holds galaxies together, is actually the weight of things we'll never detect directly. Not because we're not looking hard enough, but because they were never meant to be seen. They don't reflect. They don't absorb. They don't collide. They just pass, silently shaping everything. What if we're built on top of something deeper, something older, something watching from behind physics itself? These ghost particles don't just float, they guide, they influence gravity, they write the outlines of the cosmic web, and we, luminous, loud, and temporary, live inside the gaps they leave behind. To them, we're the faint anomaly, a flash of noise in a quiet field. Axions and ghost particles remind us that the universe doesn't have to be visible to be real, that what matters most might be what we'll never, ever touch. No true nothingness. We imagine nothing as a void, a total absence, a black silence where not even thought can breathe. But in physics, true nothingness doesn't exist. Even the most perfect vacuum isn't empty. It teems with activity. Particles blink in and out of existence. Energy flickers. Virtual particles form in pairs, collide and vanish, all in the smallest slivers of time, too fast and too fragile to catch. The vacuum isn't dead, it's boiling. A restless sea of quantum fluctuations, creating and uncreating constantly, without cause, without meaning. Even when you strip away matter, light, heat, and time, the vacuum is still alive, still unstable, still buzzing. What if the foundation of everything is motion? What if silence doesn't exist, even in principle? Even empty space has rules, structure, pressure. Pull on it the right way, and entire particles can form from its fabric. Black holes evaporate through this noise. The early universe inflated out of it. And maybe even the Big Bang itself wasn't a bang, but a fluctuation in a field that had always been trembling. What if nothing is just a thinner kind of something? What if the void isn't the absence of being, but the raw potential of becoming? We used to think of the vacuum as the final layer, the canvas, but now it looks more like the paint, shifting, vibrating, waiting, always hiding more than it reveals. Even in the most desolate regions of space, where no stars shine and no atoms drift, the vacuum isn't still. It whispers, and the deeper we listen, the more we realize the universe was never built on nothing. It was built from it. Because in the language of reality, even nothing is never truly empty. Your atoms came from explosions. You are not made of peace. You are made of aftermath. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen in your breath, all of it was forged in fire. Not earthly fire, but stellar violence. Long before Earth existed, stars lived and died in catastrophic fury. In their final moments, they collapsed, exploded, and scattered their insides across the galaxy. Supernovae, brilliant, terminal flashes, crushed atoms into heavier elements, then flung them into space with unimaginable force. Those fragments drifted, floated, and over time, they collected. Dust into planets, debris into life. You are the result of that collection, a structure built from shrapnel. Your body carries hydrogen from the Big Bang, but everything else, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, every piece of you with weight, comes from stars that died screaming. You were born of silence, but built from chaos. From the wreckage of suns that lived their lives billions of years ago, light years away. What does that make you? A descendant of destruction, a living archive of ancient death, a walking memory of explosions you'll never witness. And the process didn't stop. Even now, stars are dying, seeding the future with the matter for lives yet to come. Every generation of stars gives rise to the next. a cosmic recycling, where beauty and violence are the same breath? What if every moment you live is powered by energy borrowed from collapse? What if the core of your being is not soul or self, but fallout? You are not separate from the universe. You are its violence, shaped into thought, its ruin, given form. And one day, you too will return to dust. But that dust may fly again, may burn again, may gather into another world, another body, another life. You are made of stars, but not their light. You are made of their endings. We can't escape. We dream of escape, of slipping the boundaries of Earth, reaching the stars, leaving behind the limits that bind us. But the truth is darker. No matter how far we go, no matter how fast, how advanced, how determined, we may never escape this universe. Not because of technology, but because of physics. The laws that govern space and time don't just shape what we can do. They shape what's possible at all. The speed of light is not just a limit, it's a wall. A boundary that can never be broken, no matter how clever we become. Wormholes might collapse before anything passes through. Multiverse theories shimmer with promise, but offer no doors. And if other universes exist, they may be forever sealed from ours, stitched shut by space-time itself. What if the universe isn't a playground, but a prison? A perfectly designed bubble where all roads bend inward, all exits vanish, all escapes become myths. We call it the universe, but maybe it's really just a cell, vast beyond imagining, but closed, locked from the inside. What lies beyond it? Other dimensions, other laws, the origin of everything, or nothing at all. We'll never know. Not because we aren't curious, but because the structure of reality won't let us see past its skin. Even light can't carry messages beyond the cosmic horizon. Even gravity can't pull from the outside in. We are trapped not by walls, but by rules. And those rules don't bend. What if this is it? Not the beginning of exploration, but the edge of what will ever be known. Maybe the universe isn't something to escape, but something to accept. And maybe the hardest truth is this: we were never meant to leave. We were meant to look up and realize how far forever really is. Cyclic Universe. We think of the universe as a story, a beginning, a middle, and one distant final end. But what if that ending is only a breath before another beginning? What if everything, every galaxy, every atom, every moment of your life, is just one frame in an eternal loop? The cyclic universe theory suggests that the cosmos doesn't end. It resets, again and again. Time doesn't flow in a straight line. It circles. Expansion becomes contraction. Heat death becomes rebirth. The Big Bang wasn't the start. It was the latest echo of something that's happened before, and will happen again. Our universe may be one cycle in a series of infinite collapses and eruptions, each one wiping away all trace of the last, like a chalkboard being cleared only to draw the same pattern again. You've never been here before. And yet, maybe you always have. In one version, everything ends in fire. Galaxies torn apart, matter crushed, entropy reversed as the universe implodes into a single point, only to explode outward again. In another, the bounce comes quietly, a smooth handoff between one fading cosmos and the next, undetectable to us, but inevitable in the laws beneath the surface. What if death is just the beginning, scaled up to everything? What if all creation is destined to vanish not once, but endlessly? The stars you see now may have existed before, in forms you'd never recognize, in configurations long erased. You may have existed before, not you exactly, but echoes, possibilities, flickers, not as memory, but as rhythm. We fear the end. But what if there is no final end? What if the universe is a breath that never stops? Inhale, exhale, collapse, expand, a cosmic heartbeat that doesn't fade but repeats. Maybe there is no goal, no destiny, just the eternal cycle of everything becoming everything again. And the only true permanence is repetition. Tired light. We measure the age of the universe by its light, stretched, redshifted, slowed across distance. We see galaxies receding, space expanding, time unraveling. From this, we built our story. A Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago, followed by endless growth. But what if that redshift means something else entirely? What if the light isn't stretched by distance, but by fatigue? That's the core of the tired light hypothesis. The idea that photons lose energy not because the universe is expanding, but because something drains them as they travel. Maybe the light dims not from motion, but from countless, invisible interactions across space. It would mean the universe isn't growing, just misunderstood, older than we thought, stranger than we imagined. What if cosmic redshift is a trick, a misread symptom of an illness we never diagnosed? If tired light is real, everything changes. The universe could be static, eternal, timeless. The Big Bang, just one interpretation of a signal we never truly decoded. Our whole cosmic timeline could be wrong. Distances, speeds, the age of galaxies, all built on light that might be lying. What could tire a photon? Interstellar dust, unknown particles, a hidden structure of space that slowly bleeds energy from light as it passes by. Mainstream science rejects the theory, not because it's impossible, but because it breaks too much. But breaking everything is sometimes where truth hides. And if tired light is even partly true, then the universe is older, deeper, and quieter than we've ever dared believe. Maybe it never began. Maybe it never ends. Maybe the light we trust most has been whispering a different story this whole time. Not one of birth and acceleration, but of age and exhaustion. A cosmos that isn't running away, just growing tired. Relativity forbids instant rescue. In the deepest emergencies, we instinctively look to the sky, to connection, to rescue, to someone who might come. But in space, help is never instant. Not because of distance alone, but because of the laws of reality. Relativity forbids anything from traveling faster than light. No signal, no warning, no ship. That means in a vast enough universe, the moment something happens, you're already too far to be saved. Light speed isn't just a speed limit, it's a wall, a hard boundary that divides events into reachable and unreachable. And the terrifying part? It doesn't matter how advanced a civilization is, or how urgent the need. The math doesn't bend. Even if someone saw your signal the instant you sent it, even if they launched without hesitation, they would arrive far too late. Minutes become years. Years become lifetimes. Time itself stretches with speed, bending every attempt at rescue into a slow-motion tragedy. What if something's happening right now, on the edge of our detection? A collapsing planet, a stranded crew, a vanishing world. And we'll never know until it's far too late. What if we're sending distress signals into the void, and they're still on their way, to listeners who haven't even evolved yet? Relativity doesn't just slow rescue, it isolates. It seals you inside your own bubble of time and space. In deep space, to die can mean to vanish, to scream where no sound and no help can follow. There are places in the universe so far away, so sealed by distance, that they might as well be other realities. And if you fall there, no one's coming. Not because they don't care, but because they physically can't. Space isn't cruel, it's just absolute. And in that cold absoluteness, sometimes the answer to survival isn't fight or flee, it's accept. That sometimes help will never arrive. Not in time, not in this universe, not ever. The Big Rip. The universe is expanding, not calmly but faster and faster, as if space itself is being stretched by something unseen. We call it dark energy, but we don't understand it. And if it continues accelerating, there may come a time when expansion doesn't just pull galaxies apart. It pulls everything apart. That's the Big Rip. A future where the very fabric of space grows so rapidly that it tears the universe down to its atoms. First, galaxies will drift away from one another until the night sky goes dark. Then stars will unbind from their planets. Planetary orbits will unravel. Moons will vanish into black space. Gravity won't be enough. Bonds won't hold. And then it gets worse. Solar systems will be shredded. Planets themselves torn apart. Their cores flung into expanding void. But the ripping won't stop at the macroscopic. Molecules will snap. Atoms will split. Even protons, the most fundamental building blocks of matter, will be ripped into nothing. And all of this won't happen in silence. It will happen fast. The last stages could unfold in minutes or seconds. The universe doesn't explode. It unravels. Everything, everywhere, all at once, ceasing to exist, not in a bang or a burn, but in a stretch. What if it's already started? What if this acceleration is the first warning, the early strain before the snap? There will be no escape, no shelter, no last moment of reflection. Just expansion accelerating past the point where reality can keep up. The Big Rip is not heat death. It's not collapse. It's not quiet. It's cosmic dismemberment. An ending where distance itself becomes the weapon. And in the end, there will be no galaxies, no stars, no atoms, no time. Only the memory of what once held itself together, before space itself tore it all apart. Gravity has no shield. Most forces can be stopped. You can block light with a wall, muffle sound with silence, shield yourself from radiation, magnetism, electricity, but not gravity. Gravity seeps through everything, through planets, through lead, through time itself. There is no material, no field, no science known to humanity that can block its pull. It's the one force that always reaches you, no matter where you are. You don't feel it because it's strong. You feel it because it never stops. Every mass in the universe pulls on every other mass, all the time. Right now, your body is being tugged by distant stars, ancient black holes, forgotten clusters, billions of light years away. You'll never notice, but the force is there, subtle, relentless. Gravity doesn't just pull, it curves. It bends the very shape of space and time. And once space is bent, everything else must follow. You can try to resist, but you'll still fall, slowly, quietly, inescapably. What if that's all gravity really is? The certainty of descent, not just toward Earth, but toward endings, toward collapse, toward the singularities that wait in the dark. We've never found a way to block gravity, never found a way to make it stop pulling. What if we never will? What if the universe itself is built on the promise that nothing stays apart forever? That no matter how far something drifts, gravity will always reach out and ask it to come home. Even light obeys, even time bends. And in the end, maybe we do too. Maybe falling isn't failure. Maybe it's just the only thing that never lies. Because you can fight what you see. You can run from what you fear. But you can't shield yourself from gravity. You can only surrender, slowly. Antimatter Mystery. Every particle has a twin, an opposite with equal mass but reversed charge. For every electron, there's a positron. For every proton, an antiproton. When they meet, they don't collide. They cancel. Matter and antimatter annihilate each other in a flash of energy. According to physics, the Big Bang should have created them in perfect pairs, equal parts of everything, mirrored and balanced. But it didn't. Something broke the symmetry. For reasons no one fully understands, matter won. The universe is made almost entirely of it. Antimatter. Gone. Missing. Scattered in quantities so small they barely register. Half of reality erased. Where did it go? What tipped the scale? Some believe there was a subtle difference in how matter and antimatter decayed, just enough imbalance to leave behind the matter that now forms stars, planets, people. Others wonder if pockets of antimatter still exist, hidden in distant corners of the cosmos. Entire galaxies, maybe, invisible not because they're far, but because touching them would destroy us both. What if we're living in a biased universe, one built on an ancient, untraceable injustice? What if reality began as a coin toss, and matter simply got lucky? It's not just a question of particles, it's a question of existence. Because if antimatter had won, you wouldn't be here. Someone else, someone opposite, might have stood in your place, made of inverted everything, living in a world you could never touch. The Antimatter Mystery isn't just about what's missing. It's about how fragile presence is. How easily something as vast as a universe can hinge on the smallest imbalance. And how, in the mirror of what might have been, we're the reflection that stayed. Speed of light barrier. The universe is vast, terrifyingly vast, and the only thing that makes it feel even more unreachable is the speed of light. Not because it's fast, but because it's the fastest anything can go. No object, no signal, no thought, no rescue can move faster. It's not a speed limit like we know on Earth. It's a wall, a woven law of space-time itself, and we're stuck behind it. Even if you had infinite fuel, perfect engines, and 1,000 lifetimes, you'd still crawl across the cosmos at a snail's pace compared to the endless distances. Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth, is over 4 light-years away. That's 4 years at maximum speed, 4 years to reach the nearest light. Most galaxies are millions of light-years out. Some are already beyond reach, forever. Because the universe is expanding faster than light can travel, meaning the light from those galaxies will never get here, and nothing we send will ever reach them. What if the speed of light isn't just a barrier, but a sentence? A cosmic isolation chamber, locking every star system inside its own unreachable prison. Even if intelligent life exists out there, even if they're looking right back at us, the light will never connect. The message will never arrive. We are alone, not by chance, but by design. And the scariest part? The faster you move, the slower time flows for you, a twisted gift of relativity. If you tried to run from the void, to outrun the dark, time would stretch and slow until the universe around you burned out. You'd arrive where you aimed, in a future where everything else is gone. The speed of light keeps us in place, keeps us waiting, keeps us wondering. And no matter how far we dream, it never lets us go any faster. It's not just the limit of motion, it's the edge of connection, the edge of hope. And in the end, it's a reminder that in this universe, forever might be just out of reach. Quantum immortality. Death feels final, absolute, a clean break. But in the strange world of quantum mechanics, nothing is truly certain, not even dying. According to one interpretation, every time a life or death event occurs, the universe splits. In one version, you die. In another, you survive. And if consciousness only continues in the branches where survival happens, you never truly experience death. To the outside world, you're gone. But to you, the version of you that keeps existing, you simply wake up. Again and again. The odds don't matter. The probability can be near zero. But quantum immortality doesn't care about odds. It only cares about paths. You might survive a fall you shouldn't. A disease that should have ended everything. An accident where the chances were microscopic. From your perspective, you always pull through. Always wake up. Always continue. While infinite other versions of you die in parallel timelines, you follow the narrow, improbable thread of survival, forever. But immortality has a cost, because eventually, the worlds where you live become strange, empty, quiet. Friends age and die, bodies break down, Earth fades, the universe cools, and still you persist, alone, conscious, in a body that should have failed long ago. What if death is not an end, but an exit denied? What if the real fear isn't dying, but never being able to? Quantum immortality doesn't mean safety, it means isolation. Eternal awareness stretched across increasingly improbable realities. You might be trapped in the last flicker of consciousness, long after everything else has gone dark. You might survive forever, but only you. And maybe that's the most terrifying fate of all. Black holes may multiply. They don't just sit still. Black holes drift, roam, collide. And when they find each other, they don't fight, they merge. Two singularities, spiraling closer, dragging space itself into a violent spin until they crash together and become one, bigger, heavier, hungrier. And this isn't rare. It's happening all across the universe. Invisible giants finding each other in the dark, fusing into monsters that bend time more violently than anything else known. There is no limit. Every collision makes a new black hole with more mass, more pull, more silence. Some believe this process has been happening since the earliest moments of the cosmos, a long, slow multiplication of gravity, unstoppable and untraceable. What if the biggest black holes aren't rare, but inevitable? What if they're growing faster than we think, eating stars, then galaxies, then each other, until entire regions of the universe become gravitational wastelands? In the far future, black holes may be the only thing left, merging endlessly into fewer and fewer titans. The final stage of the cosmos could be just one massive, all-consuming singularity, a shadow of everything that ever existed, crushed into infinite density, spinning in silence. What would it mean to live in a universe where gravity never gives back, where the fabric of space is slowly devoured by its own creation? And what happens when black holes eat so much? They begin to merge with the ones they already were. An infinite recursion of identity, collapsing again and again. The more they multiply, the less they resemble anything we understand. Not objects, not holes, just hunger, just weight, just dark. The universe isn't expanding into light. It may be collapsing into itself, one collision at a time, until all that remains is gravity eating gravity, forever. Neutron stars crush atoms. When a massive star dies, it doesn't fade, it implodes. Its core collapses under its own weight with such force that electrons and protons are squeezed together, forming pure neutrons. The result is a neutron star, a remnant so dense it shatters the concept of matter itself. Atoms cannot survive here. They're crushed beyond recognition. There are no spaces between particles, no orbits, no structure, just an ocean of neutrons, packed so tightly that a single teaspoon of this star stuff would weigh billions of tons. The crust is a nightmare of degenerate matter. The core, possibly something we don't even have words for. Quark soup, exotic particles, or something stranger still. Gravity on the surface is so intense that if you stood there, even for a microsecond, your body would be flattened thinner than paper, your atoms squeezed into a smear of subatomic dust. Light itself bends around it. Time slows near it. Space curves violently inward. What happens to reality when the laws of physics collapse under pressure? Neutron stars shouldn't exist, but they do, balanced perfectly between collapse into a black hole and the last stand of matter against gravity. What if these stars are the bridge, the halfway point between what we know and what we were never meant to? Some spin hundreds of times per second, firing beams of radiation across space like ghostly lighthouses. Others drift in silence, cold, ancient, forgotten. And deep inside, pressure builds, waiting. Because even neutron stars can't resist forever. Add enough mass, and even they will fall, crushed into a singularity. A black hole, a point, an end. Neutron stars aren't just remnants. They're warnings. Proof that matter breaks, that structure dies, that even atoms, the things we trust to be unbreakable, will eventually surrender, not to time, not to heat, but to gravity, when it stops asking nicely. Galaxies move randomly. We imagine the universe as ordered, galaxies drifting outward in neat lines from the Big Bang, expanding with purpose. But the deeper we look, the stranger it gets. Galaxies don't move in perfect patterns. They lurch, swerve, collide, twist in directions that don't match the models. Some hurtle toward each other, some drift sideways, some seem to flow against the expansion itself. There's no central point they're fleeing from, no edge they're heading toward, just motion, random, chaotic, carried by forces we barely understand. Gravity pulls them into webs. Dark matter steers them invisibly. And in between, vast voids stretch wider, colder, emptier, pushing galaxies along currents we can't see, like leaves scattered by winds with no origin. What if the universe has no map, no destination? What if motion itself is the only constant, not direction, not purpose, just movement? Our own Milky Way is speeding through space at over 2 million kilometers per hour, and we don't even feel it, because everything else is moving too. No anchor, no stillness, just drift. Some galaxies even move fast enough to escape the pull of their clusters. Lone travelers flung into endless dark, never to return. And the patterns we do see might only be illusions, temporary structures in an ocean that never settles. We search for meaning in alignment, in shape, in spin, but maybe there is none. Maybe the universe is a dance without choreography. Galaxies crashing not because they must, but because they can. What if our idea of cosmic order is just our need for comfort projected onto noise? Galaxies don't follow lines, they follow chaos. And we're riding one of them, spinning through a storm that no one planned, and no one controls. Solar system is temporary. It feels eternal. The sun rising, the planets spinning, the quiet rhythm of orbits that have lasted for billions of years. But our solar system is not forever. It's a fragile, temporary arrangement, a momentary balance carved from ancient violence, slowly unraveling. The sun will die, not in fire, but in transformation. It will swell into a red giant, swallowing Mercury, Venus, and possibly Earth. Its gravity will loosen, its light will change, and the outer planets, gas giants and frozen moons, will begin to drift. With time, their orbits will stretch, shift, break. Gravitational nudges from passing stars, rogue objects, and galactic tides will slowly pull the solar system apart. Jupiter might be ejected. Neptune might fall inward. Moons may collide. The Oort cloud, a shell of icy debris at the edge of the system, will evaporate into interstellar space. Nothing will remain bound forever. Even after the sun collapses into a white dwarf, it won't hold on to everything. One by one, the planets will leave. Not quickly, not loudly, just disappear. Some will wander into the galaxy alone, dark and cold. Others may crash into stars or black holes, or be torn to dust in the gravity of larger things. What if this is already happening, so slowly we don't notice? What if we live in the golden hour of a system quietly dissolving? The solar system wasn't born calm. It was forged in collisions, rearranged by chaos, stabilized by chance. And one day, that balance will break. No trace of our place will remain. No orbit, no warmth, no name. Just scattered fragments drifting through a galaxy that doesn't remember where they came from. We call this home. But even home is temporary. even this harmony will fade. Because in the long story of the universe, no system lasts, not even ours.